What is happening there, Reject Nation? Greg and John here. We are going to watch today. Why are you making noise in the middle of my intro? New Rockstars, What If? The zombie episode. Yeah! Excited to check it out. If there's one thing I know these guys for doing, Mr. Boseman is exceptional at enhancing an appreciation for each and every episode here. And as we were watching, I was like, there's so many Easter eggs.
Way too much. This is flying way past my head right now.
And I only caught a few. Guys, let's see what's going on. If you haven't subscribed to New Rockstars, they are becoming the biggest reaction channel for all movies right now. Let's get into it.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of Marvel Studios' What If Episode 5, What If Zombies? Which allows us to laugh through a zombie apocalypse until we remember that earlier apocalypse we were worried about. I'm gonna break down all the Easter eggs and animation details that you might have missed from this episode. Here we go. We open with Hulk blasting back to Earth via the Bifrost. In Avengers Infinity War, the framing actually matches those shots, including the tilt rotation on the shot of Manhattan and the reflection of Hulk in the Sanctum window. But this time the Bifrost blast to the staircase comes not as Strange and Wong are there, but leaving Banner all alone.
Thanos is coming. He's coming. Hello?
No one except for the Cloak of Levitation, who might be Earth's sole survivor by the end of all this. But no word on what happened to Wanda Maximoff and Hulk whose skin is supposed to be impenetrable, or to Bucky, or how Thor would have held up, or Groot, who as a Flora Colossus is made of bark like cellulose instead of skin tissue and blood. I'm just saying we need a Marvel Zombies Part 2 and get this group a cape.
Automatic, like right away. Like even our discussion, we were like, oh, we could make a whole movie idea out of this.
Make a whole anthology series out of this. Yeah.
I would love for Marvel to actually do, even if it's just a direct movie for, you know, streaming purposes or whatever, that would be awesome. Yeah. I would love a Marvel Zombies for streaming.
Oh,
I mean, maybe not for Disney Plus. Like I know a lot of people this is like their favorite episode, but if they could push the envelope just a little bit more with gore and horror, that'd be cool. If, like maybe on Hulu or something, you know?
Yeah, where all the edgier stuff goes.
Yes.
The Cloak hooks up Banner with the maroon robes that sorcerers typically wear, and he asks,
Was I too late?
He's assuming that Thanos already succeeded in snapping away life. I guess he wouldn't know how long he was out for. Ebony Maw and Cull Obsidian beam down to the street without the heavy gusts of their Q ship. Hulk refuses to come out, as he does during this scene in Infinity War. Actually, in that movie, Ebony Maw proclaims,
Hear me and rejoice. You are about to die at the hands of the children of Thanos.
Here it plays out this way.
Hear me and rejoice.
Come out! Come out! Come out!
What do you mean, no? You are about to die at the hands of the children of...
Yeah, mixing in Banner's later moment from Infinity War.
Come out! Come out! Come out! What do you mean, no?
And right as Ebony Maw says hands, Iron Man's hand appears, and Maw is cut off right before he says Thanos, avoiding reminding us of the guy to set up the final twist of the episode. Banner's 3 co-warriors from Infinity War arrive.
Tony?
With Alan Silvestri's Avengers music there. The silhouettes of Wong and Iron Man and Doctor Strange look haggard and tattered. Tony is wearing his Mark 50 nanotech armor from Infinity War, but notice how his helmet is retracted, the better to bite us with. Banner says,
Oh boy, are you guys screwed.
which Banner says later in Infinity War when Thor arrives late.
You guys are so screwed now.
Through the dust cloud, you can make out a super tattered zombie Strange jumping through a portal directly at Ebony Maw.
Cool.
No care whatsoever if Maw were to take the time stone in the Eye of Agamotto. They mask this brawl with thicker dust in a lens flare, and they use sound effects in Obsidian's hand to hint at the violence.
That sort of seems like overkill.
Notice how the zombies can still use their weaponry and their sorcery. In Robert Kirkman's Marvel Zombies comics, the virus, known as the Hunger, leaves the infected's full mental capacity unaffected. It just really leaves them with a carnivorous drive akin to zombies. The comics also follow the Fantastic Four, Magneto, Galactus, a whole bunch of characters as the virus spreads to alternate realities, and we learn that the outbreak began when a Watcher from the Earth Z dimension sent a zombified Sentry to Earth 2149. So yes, a Watcher was behind all of this.
There you go. There's your movie right there, or your follow-up to another episode.
I mean, they could do one every season.
They could do one every season, or if they wanted to follow this up directly, because in the last episode, the Watcher really became a character and got involved, started talking to Doctor Strange. She didn't like get involved and change things, but at least communicated with Doctor Strange. And then here he's just back in the shadows observing again. Yeah,
because he sent the first zombie.
Not my fault. Not my fault.
Don't confuse me with that other guy.
I would love that, especially capturing more of that grit that Robert Kirkman is able to provide.
Mr. Walking Dead right there.
Because I was thinking for like a zombie show, I thought like, oh, you know what would have really just rung a little bit more tension if Banner shows up at the Sanctum Sanctorum and then he's like walking around and you just stay with him as it's isolated and it's around and he just grabs that the clothing and he walks around the city for a little bit.
Make it like 28 days later.
That's what I mean, yeah. Like how much more tension that would have brought.
Absolutely.
Our Watcher doesn't intervene, and it's caused by something else that I'll get to later. Notice how Zombie Stark's face is decayed, but his earlobe still has a bit of flesh tone in there. Kind of like how we see with Zombie Cap's ear later, showing how this virus is really just affecting their limbic systems in their brains, and how with the right Mind Stone frequency, this could be reversed, but to a pretty decayed, bony body. And what kind of quality of life are we talking there? Wong gnaws on Obsidian's severed arm, similar to how he uses a portal to sever that arm in Infinity War, but then Wong here dies a similar way, portal severance, this time to the head. Banner kicks it, just like how he kicked Obsidian's arm all freaked out. Wasp uses a swarm of flying ants to disintegrate these zombies.
Who are you?
All that's left.
Yeah, some fun wordplay from Hope there. Hope is all that's left. The dad jokes aren't limited to Scott here. Spider-Man scoops up Banner.
Hey, relax. I'm just your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Oh, yeah? Well, then what the hell happened to the neighborhood?
Yeah, Peter Parker is voiced not by Tom Holland, but by actor and singer Hudson Thames. Notice how his suit isn't exactly like the one we saw in Infinity War, perhaps because Sony might own that exact movie.
Oh, God.
So instead, they use the Disney-owned version of the suit that they made for the Disney parks.
You know, I think that might actually help out a little bit with not having to associate or making it easier to not think about Tom Holland, because sometimes I'm distracted when I'm like, that's clearly not, you know, the actor they're supposed to be playing. This time around, I really wasn't distracted, maybe because I'm so used to many different iterations of Spider-Man, both in live action and animated. I don't know, there's something about where I really like the choice of doing a completely different suit for this one versus the one in Infinity War. There's something about it I personally am more gravitated towards, and I think a lot of people are. Oh, and another thing I'll add on too, that just makes it more exciting when you go to the Disney parks and then you see that Spider-Man suit, and then you're like, hey, that's the one in your Disney show.
That's actually canon now.
The Watcher says,
like too many great catastrophes, this one sprang from a place of love and hope.
Yeah, notice how he's much closer to us than he usually is, and now we see his mouth as he's talking. Like ever since nearly interfering last episode, he is getting nearer and nearer each week as he takes a less godly and more personified form. He explains how 2 weeks earlier, Hank Pym went to rescue Janet Van Dyne from the quantum realm. Notice how Pym approaches a crystalline barrier, which in Ant-Man and the Wasp represented the barrier between subatomic space and the separate dimension that the quantum realm is. But here, the distant orange light, the tendrils, the floating crags are all on this side of the barrier. And he lands on a different surface than before, and there is a problem.
Janet Van Dyne contracted a quantum virus that corrupted her brain.
Yeah, so the Watcher doesn't go into any further detail about the origins of this quantum virus or why Janet and Hank didn't get affected when in the quantum realm in the movie, which is a bit weird because every episode up until now, we see at least some kind of deliberate turning point from the movies that characters make, whether it's Peggy Carter deciding to stay in the room or Doctor Strange still being in a relationship with Christine Palmer. So what is the difference here? Well, after staring at this for too long, notice these purple pillars of light that now beam up from below. Those were not in the movie. I'm wondering if these could be the origins of the virus. And inside Marvel, I speculated that Janet could have been intentionally infected by someone who engineered this virus specifically to get to Thanos. Maybe even engineered by the Celestials, known to be experimental biological engineers of the Marvel Universe. Hoping perhaps that zombie Thanos might use his stones instead to incarnate a sudden influx of life, because what do zombies want more than anything? An unlimited amount of uninfected flesh to chew on, and that this might trigger that emergence that in the Eternals trailer, they said Hulk's snap energy surge triggered.
Do you guys realize Eric Voss has just been pitching the follow-up episode for Marvel Zombies this whole time?
I think you've earned the writing credit by now.
It makes it more interesting, I think, in any zombie movie or show. A lot of times you don't get a full explanation as to what really causes, you know? You usually get hints or alluding to, like right here, you picked up on that specific purple particle area. That's about as big of a clue as you'll get, but if she's isolated, he shows up when she's already been turned. It makes sense why you wouldn't get an explanation right then and there.
Oh yeah, shit would just hit the fan.
Yeah, exactly. You know, where you were going with this, I don't know if it's that far, you know, with Celestials and all that involvement, but damn, how cool would that be for time? This man should write. This man should be a writer.
It's only a matter of time. Don't forget us when you're at the top, Voss.
Meanwhile, there's no sighting of the mysterious Quantum Realm city that was hidden in the background in Ant-Man and the Wasp, which I now believe to be Kang's kingdom of Chronopolis. Since Kang is returning in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, there's also an argument that Kang could have released this virus as a way to try to biologically subvert the absolute point of Thanos' snap on the timeline. I'm just saying, the fact that the virus didn't affect these characters in Ant-Man and the Wasp means that something changed. Someone wanted this virus to get into our reality. Meanwhile, you gotta love the Watcher's sass here.
Oof, that happened.
And Wasp's shadow crosses over Hank's lifeless hand, leading Hope to greet what she thinks is her mom, and I love Scott piping in the background there.
Mom?
Hi, Miss Van Dyne.
Hank attacks Scott, and Scott's hand grasps the glass in the classic horror frame, or like Rose's sex grasp in Titanic. The Avengers Quinjet lands on Golden Gate Bridge with Hawkeye, Infinity War era blonde Natasha, Cap back in a Civil War suit with his shield that has already been resurfaced after T'Challa scratched it in Civil War, and his 2018 beard shaved. Supposedly this crisis must have ended the feud between him and Tony, and then of course Iron Man and Black Panther. I love this lineup. I would have loved to see these guys in action. But notice as the camera pulls away, we see the zombies tackle Iron Man and Hawkeye and Natasha, but none actually tackle T'Challa. In fact, the last we see of him through that crowd, he is swatting back one of those zombies. And in that tight vibranium weave, it makes sense that he would be able to repel the bites. On to Peter Parker's
I didn't even notice him.
Yeah, I lost him after they got out of the
video diaries that he kept in Spider-Man Homecoming. It's also similar to the rules in the movie Zombieland. We see Peter here with other survivors, including Happy Hogan, shirt reading, "I'm not single, I'm saving myself for Thor," Skills, driving, coffee, and boxing, recalling his past in the comics as an amateur wrestler, and his boxing Natasha in Iron Man 2. He wears Tony Stark's wristwatch-based palm repulsor from Civil War. This would be one of the previous versions Stark would have after he upgraded to the Mark 50. Then Kurt, David Desmalchian's character from the Ant-Man films. He's wearing his ex-con security jacket. Skills, languages, Slavic folklore, and crime. Slavic folklore referring to his Baba Yaga ghost story that comes back later this episode.
David Desmalchian, man. He is just killing it. Polka Dot Man, he's in the one of those Batman animated movies. I think it's The Long Halloween.
He's got his own comic book that he's writing now.
And now he's in What If. He's already been the comic book connoisseur, and then so I was so happy to see that he's here because you would think they might go with like Luis or something like that. But instead they go with Kurt.
Nah, man.
That's refreshing.
Michael Pena after Tom and Jerry, they're like, "Whoa, we got to move on to David Desmalchian because we can't do T.I." So.
But I also think this guy looks nothing like David Desmalchian in this animation.
Yeah, that's the one thing. Is this could have just been any white guy?
He has such like distinct features that I was like, I feel like you could have.
Yeah, I feel like you could have tailored his face especially more.
Bucky Barnes showers in a USA-themed shower curtain as he later in this episode
I didn't even notice that.
He's listed as silent but deadly. Skills, murder, killer arm, heavy sleeper, of course referring to his deep freeze hibernation. Bucky has the new black vibranium arm that was given to him in Infinity War, so the Wakandans must have given him this arm as this zombie outbreak began. He says,
"You know all I have to do is squeeze, right?"
Okay.
Kind of like Indiana Jones's threat to that Nazi woman in The Last Crusade.
All I have to do is squeeze.
Then Sharon Carter, listed as the Blonde Bond. Skills, spycraft, first aid, eulogies, referring to how she patched up Team Cap and eulogized Peggy Carter in Civil War. And final member of the team, Okoye, who's in the US looking for T'Challa after he went missing. And we see how their base is a series of subway cars and a bus and then a school bus.
Oh, they're
whipped together, suspended between buildings. A pretty genius idea for a sanctuary in a zombie apocalypse. I'm not sure how they were able to avoid Falcon all this time. They used what looks like Stark's gauntlet from the Hulkbuster armor to hollow project the signal that they've received. It also looks like they got a Super Nintendo over on the right. Banner says,
Well, it looks to me like your message is in
random detail.
That location look familiar, Agent Carter?
It's Camp Lehigh in New Jersey.
Camp Lehigh, of course, where Cap first trained in the first movie, and where he and Tony stole the Tesseract in Endgame in 1970, and where Cap and Natasha discovered Zola's algorithm in Winter Soldier, leading to that place getting bombed back in 2014, though most of it appears intact this episode. Happy drives them to Grand Central.
I thought you were an Uber driver.
No, I'm a personal chauffeur. There's a difference.
Yeah, we realize that they are in the Pimtech van that Hope drove in Ant-Man and the Wasp, with this jump scare evoking that huge pigeon, and they use it to burst through the zombie's head. Now, Grand Central Station is where Hulk punched Thor out of the movie and the prologue of Spider-Man Homecoming, but this station does not connect to New Jersey. Anyway, they split up.
Splitting up? Do you guys just not have horror movies in Wakanda?
We don't need them. We have American reality shows.
Yeah, Peter brings up a crucial point in most zombie fiction, that a lot of the times characters are not as aware of horror movie tropes as the audience is. A meta concept explored really well in movies like Scream and Cabin in the Woods starring Thor, but in this case, Peter Parker is aware of zombie movies, everyone else is not, and in WandaVision, they did screen George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead, so characters in this universe should be aware of some of these tropes.
All right, guys, look, I know this is a bit of a nitpick, okay, because I enjoyed the meta commentary pretty much 99% of the time. It's just that it did kind of pull me out slightly. I started just thinking to myself, okay, that's funny, but that's also a good point.
Yeah.
If zombie movies and all that exist, everything is essentially zombies. You'd think Earth's mightiest heroes and everyone else would know, like, okay, all right, we gotta have an idea of what to handle here, but only this one guy because he's a kid knows all this. I'm like, zombies have been around since way before Peter Parker was even born, you know?
Well, I mean, imagine how fun that could have been. Like, okay, kid, what do you know about zombies? Tell us everything.
Yeah.
You know, and then you could get even more fun movie references and stuff. But yeah, it is like, he does seem like the one person who kind of gets the situation.
It's a nitpick, I know. It was just, it was the kind of thing of, again, it's self-aware, but I still feel like it needs to be more self-aware now. Now that you've acknowledged this.
Don't just stop at the acknowledgement. Use it.
Happy uses his palm repulsor, but he and Sharon get attacked by zombie Hawkeye, and after Happy dies, his zombie self still says blam. Meanwhile, zombie Falcon attacks Bucky and Okoye splits them in half, the kind of kill Dyne Guerrera's other zombie-killing character Michonne would deliver in The Walking Dead.
That was your friend. Sorry about that.
I should be sad, but I'm not.
Yeah, this is before Bucky and Sam worked together in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, when they still had more of a love-hate relationship coming out of Civil War.
Can you move your seat up? No.
Couldn't have done that earlier.
I hate you.
They're able to escape the train station, and Spider-Man gets the help from the Cloak of Levitation.
It's a good look on you.
Really? You think I could pull it off?
Maybe I'll grow into it.
Maybe a hint toward Peter's coming experience with sorcery in Spider-Man No Way Home. Meanwhile, zombie Cap kills Sharon. Notice as she's at his feet, her finger twitches a little back to life. Zombie Cap's sleeve is torn, and you can see he still has a defined deltoid. My boy's still jacked. Or it's like a bloody gash. Either way, he's cut. And notice how Bucky punches Zombie Cap in that jaw, causing it to plunge down the foot.
A+ dad joke.
Cap tosses his shield at Bucky, who hurls it back, similar to Bucky's shield catch in Winter Soldier, and it cuts him in half.
Sorry, pal. Guess this is the end of the line.
Yeah, end of the line was their repeated line to each other.
All right, let's break down some rules here. So I get they've got some deteriorating flesh, but they also seem to still possess their powers, enough capability to use their powers. Would their body still physically be weak enough to slice a body in half?
That's an excellent question, because yeah, they certainly seem powerful.
The shields hit a lot of people in these movies and no one's cut in half.
Yeah. And
so
also,
what's the rules around the physique of the body at this point?
And I know that, you know, again, a lot of powers are accounted for by your biology, but I gotta feel like if your skin was rotting, some of these powers would destroy the host body.
Exactly. That's, I mean, what are the rules? What I'm getting at. Not exactly criticizing, I'm questioning though.
Also, you notice the music there was actually a dark minor chord version of Captain America's theme.
Sorry, pal. Guess this is the end of the line.
You see, there's something about that line there that I think would have just made a little extra oomph for me. Because already, this video is already doing plenty to make me appreciate this episode so much. Like, I love all the details, and there's so much more references that I didn't even pick up on in the moment. But I think that delivery, if that was played a little bit more like somber, you know,
like he's actually affected or sad.
Except it was kind of like, Merry Christmas, motherfucker. It was like a yippee-ki-yay delivery versus like, sorry, Cap. That's the end of the line, you know.
Yeah, it's like a badass quip rather than an actual like lamentation to his best friend.
Yeah. Hope asks Peter how he stays so upbeat.
My mom, Dad, Uncle Ben, Mr. Stark, now happy. I've lost a lot. But my Aunt May says, used to say, that if we don't keep smiling when they can't, then we might as well just be gone too.
Yes, this is our first official mention of Uncle Ben in the MCU, after his initials appeared on Peter's luggage in Far From Home.
That could have been any BFP.
For Ben Franklin Parker, not Big Parker. Hope carries them over the zombie horde by growing big, though with that tear in her suit and how she's able to stay large even after her helmet visor is cracked, this would be the first time the MCU has shown Pymtech-powered characters of different sizes outside of the closed system of their suits. Something that the comics don't really worry about, and I guess this episode doesn't really either. Vision explains how he was able to repel the zombies.
The Mind Stone. It emits a sub-frequency that is not to their liking.
Could that mean the infection is some kind of encephalopathy?
Yeah, encephalopathy means damage to the brain. Meanwhile, this bunker looks like the one Cap and Natasha found Zola's AI in the Winter Soldier, but must be a different one than the one that imploded. Now remember, the Mind Stone carried a kind of divine intelligence that spoke to Vision to warn him about Thanos' coming in Infinity War. And this could have been linked to the plan I've suggested, that this virus could have been engineered to get to Thanos via specifically the Mind Stone. A stone that I believe the Celestials first gave to Thanos before Loki's invasion, since we know the Celestials did used to wield Infinity Stones, and all of this is about getting that stone back to zombie Thanos in this case, because why else would Thanos go to Wakanda looking for the Mind Stone if the Mind Stone wasn't there yet? Unless it's some kind of oversight.
I love how that moment with Thanos has raised so many questions, because as cool of a visual as it is, it did bring up a lot of like, why would he go to, the Mind Stone wasn't there, but that's why he went there in Infinity War, right?
Yeah, and this all takes place around that time.
Yeah, and I feel like with the amount of stones that he collected at that point, he would have been able to prevent himself from getting bitten by anyone. Like but they all had their powers, so I'm sure they could land a hit on them, but he couldn't just like reverse time.
You would think. You would think. I don't know. I mean, I'm starting to get to a point where I'm like, any plot hole, I guess, could just be explained by it's a different timeline. Maybe different events unfolded to get us here.
But the Thanos one, it was a really cool visual, awesome cliffhanger. But then it also did open the door for, wait a minute. He asked some questions here.
Yeah. Vision saves Scott Lang's head in a glass jar, Futurama style, and Okoye tells him,
Hey, Tula, don't cry. You'll fog up your jaw.
Sorry. Yeah, Tula is a traditional Zulu lullaby in order to stop babies from crying. They realize Vision lured them there to feed them to zombie Maximoff. T'Challa has lost a leg, similar to how he does in the Marvel Zombies comics, and Vision says,
While your anger is predictable, I can assure you my actions, though unsavory, were nevertheless born of logic. I still cannot entirely fathom what I have done, but I cannot bring myself to leave her.
Sounds like Vision found it logical to contain Wanda rather than unleash her on the world, though it also sounds like loving Wanda is just something in his code, which I think is pretty beautiful, but also really messed up how he like chopped up people.
It's so funny just how their love for each other has led to the abuse of so many individuals.
Innocent people, yes, have suffered for their marital issues.
It did hit me until I was working on the thumbnail for the reaction. I was like, see how many times have we seen this Vision guy die?
Hey man, this is the worst one of all though, just by his own hand.
Jeez, keeps dying.
Wanda awakens her terrifying Baba Yaga form at the far end of the hallway. Now, it's super creepy how the shadows of her are cast both in front of her on the floor and on the wall behind.
Yeah,
the front one making
great
sense for the red light source behind her, but also suggests that some light is catching an additional dark spirit that must be standing behind her. The Cloak of Levitation saves Scott, making a pretty fun duo between the two of them. Wingardium Leviosa! Yes, of course, the levitation spell from Harry Potter, and I don't think that or any of these constitute dad jokes. Dad jokes are really just solid wordplay that Gen Z keeps moving the goalpost on because they're mad at everyone older than them for ruining the planet, which, fair. Okoye gets taken.
Solid take, boss.
And Vision explodes the bunker saying,
There's a quad jet in the hangar.
Yeah, quad jets are the predecessors to Quinjets. A quad jet is actually what Carol and Fury piloted in Captain Marvel. And Vision, to atone, rips out the Mind Stone from his own head, creating the kind of shockwave that happened when his Mind Stone was destroyed in Infinity War. But also the moment he does, his eyes roll over and he turns gray, just like he did in Infinity War and showed back up as in WandaVision. Banner wants to stay behind and let them escape.
I don't think I can lose another friend today.
So, Avengers.
Yeah, Scott and T'Challa are like, you dude, we're not friends enough? And if you think about it, Peter wasn't called an Avenger until Tony Stark knighted him in Infinity War, which never happened here, so Banner telling him to avenge them gives Peter that promotion.
That's neat. That's cool. I think that would have just made that moment even that much more powerful if we had just like a scene earlier of like Peter Parker talking about like, oh, I didn't even become an Avenger or something like that.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
That's why I'm grateful for New Rockstars because they point out things like that. Like, oh, damn, that actually makes me love that moment even more. I feel like in the actual viewing of it, that would have hit that much extra if we had a runtime of an episode that allowed us to feature a scene.
Allowed us to have a couple character scenes where they discuss what life was like before this.
Yeah, so that way when he says that, you're like, oh, that's cool. Then I would go, oh, I remember Tony knighted him, and now it's
now it's Bruce. Banner finally forces Hulk out of hiding, and he and Wanda duke it out, but we never see what comes from that, or where Bucky landed. Giant Hope tries to grab the jet and fails, and pissed, chucks a zombie at them. T'Challa tells Peter,
in my culture, death is not the end. They are still with us, as long as we do not forget them.
A touching callback to Chadwick Boseman's memorable words after T'Chaka's death in Civil War.
In my culture, death is not the end. It's more of a stepping off point.
Isn't that crazy how some of the lines that he has been given for the episodes he's been in, they just hit so different now, don't they?
If nobody knew the circumstances up until his passing, like, it's uncanny the way some of these now, to hear them, are like messages from a premonition of some kind. Almost. Yeah.
It is very interesting just how much more weight now it holds, and it just takes on this other worldly quality that most, I think, vast majority of us did not anticipate, you know? And it makes me really glad they gave him some good freaking lines. Yeah, it's like, damn.
Yeah, absolutely, because he has been distinct in both of these episodes.
Exactly.
For sure, yeah.
Yet as they arrive to Wakanda, inside the shield gates, zombies claw to get out. Standing above zombie Dora Milaje and Jabari warriors, zombie Thanos stands victorious. 5 out of 6 stones in his gauntlet. Notice how his pose matches his "fine, I'll do it myself" shot in the Age of Ultron post-credit scene. Now, to think about where Thanos has been in this timeline, he must have gotten the Reality Stone from nowhere and the Soul Stone from Vormir, meaning Gamora is dead, and he had planned to rendezvous with Ebony Maw on Titan for the Time Stone, but now that Maw never made that trip, Thanos probably went directly to Earth to recover the Eye of Agamotto from New York, and I guess then headed to the only place the surviving Avengers would go, or maybe they just didn't think about this. I don't know. The point is, Thor is still out there somewhere, along with Groot and Rocket and the Guardians of the Galaxy minus Gamora, meaning there is more what if zombies to explore, as zombie Thanos would probably go planet to planet now, and then maybe even to other timelines by infecting the TVA. So Marvel, again, please give us a Marvel Zombies Part 2. Keep us smiling for hope.
That's what I'm talking about, man. He completed the outline for the follow-up to Marvel Zombies.
Just clip those little moments throughout this breakdown, and then you'll have the treatment for Part 2 of Marvel Zombies.
How unique of a zombie movie would that be if the people in charge of timelines are infected by the zombies, and then that virus is spreading throughout the universe?
Throughout the multiverse.
Like, how insane would that be? That would be just so nutty if they just did like a season of it just ends in this completely despairing way.
In this singularity where every reality is overrun with zombies, there's nothing else.
That would have been cool.
Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EAVOS. Follow and subscribe to New Rockstars. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Thank you for putting all this together. You guys are hard at work lately, man. So happy you guys exist. I like that episode a lot more now.
Yes, yeah.
I always end up doing it because there's all those details that I know. Like when you say details you missed under titles, I'm like, yeah.
The show especially.
And those details constantly enhance my appreciation. It's just that thing when you further understand something, the easier it is to like it. It's plain and simple. That's why it does work on me. All right, guys. Well, subscribe to New Rockstars if you haven't done so already. You can subscribe to us. Keep a lookout for our next What If reaction. Last but not least, Pandemic Jones. Why would we not shout out Pandemic Jones when we are watching the Marvel Pandemic episode dealing with a case of Osmosis Jones?
So that's the crossover we deserve.
It's animated, it ties in.
Oh yeah.
Pandemic Jones, you are the greatest threat to humanity, and that's why I respect you In order to operate in this life, we must feel fear, and we must fear whatever we answer to. And Pandemic Jones, you are that fear. That's how you rule. That's how you control people. Take us on YouTube. Always afraid of the YouTube overlords. And you were most afraid of you. I know that you have secrets on us you can expose at any moment. Create a pandemic about us. Oh, it would be bad. We would lose tens of subscribers.
At least 10, yeah.
Pandemic, I appreciate you being here, and you taught me a thing or two about fear. That in order to really connect with people, you must make them afraid of you.